Good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome back to the Nirog Street lecture series on Shalyatantra. Myself, Dr. Narayan Kr. In the last two sessions, we have discussed the Trivida Karma, that is the Purva Karma and Paschat Karma. In today's session, we will be seeing what is Paschat Karma, what are the explanation or what are the details given by our Acharyas regarding Paschat Karma, what does the contemporary science, that is the modern allopathic science, has to say regarding the post-operative procedures. So, beginning with the Paschat Karma as per Ayurvedic classics, Acharya Shushruta, again in 5th chapter, Agroparniyadhyaha, he says, Tataha Shastram Avacharya. Tataha refers to afterwards. Tataha Shastram Avacharya. After the Shastra Karma is done, Sheetabir Aturam Ashvasayasya. That is, the person has to be given Ashvasana with the help of sprinkling of Sheeta Jala. Sheetabir Aturasya Ashvasasya. That is, once the Sheeta water is sprinkled over the face of the person, he regains his consciousness, and then Ashvasana should be given to that patient, telling that everything is fine and the surgery has gone well, so that he calms down. If you consider this aspect, that is sprinkling of Sheeta Jala over the face of the patient, what is its logic behind sprinkling of cold water? If you critically analyze this, Sheeta Jala is something which initiates your respiratory functions. When you sprinkle the Sheeta Jala over the face of the person, the respiratory point which is present on the medulla oblongata gets stimulated. So the person who is under the influence of madhya or anesthesia, once you sprinkle the water, cold water over the person, he begins to respire because the respiratory center in the medulla oblongata gets stimulated. So he starts breathing and regains its consciousness. So this is the logic behind sprinkling of cold water. And again he continues, Samantat Paripidya Angulya. The region where you have taken the incision or excision, you have performed the Shastra Karma, Samantat. In the surrounding area, you have to do Paripidya Angulya. Using your fingers, you have to do Pidana Karma around the Shastra Sthana which you have performed. Moving on, Vranam Abhimrudhya or Vranam Abhimrujya. Here, Vranam Abhimrudhya or Abhimrujya is nothing but Vranamardhanam Krutva. This is as per Acharya Dalhana. He says Vranamardhanam Krutva. You have to do slight kneading massage over the Vranasthana. And he also gives another opinion. He says, a few acharyas says like, Iti kechit patanti bahala asti gati utsangadi vijnanartham miti. That is to know the presence of bala, asti, gati or utsanga. Whether any foreign materials are located inside the vrana. To locate that, to understand the presence or absence of foreign bodies in the vrana, you have to do slight mardana over the vrana pradesha and over the surrounding region. If they are present, the patient starts feeling pain and it can be removed. So for that, vranam abhimrudhya has to be done. That is mardana. Kneading should be done over the vranasthana and surrounding sthana. Next, prakshalya kashayena protena udakam adaya. Then after kneading, you have to do prakshalana karma over the vrana and vranasthana using kashayas. And what are the kashayas to be used? There are no direct references which Acharya Shushruta has mentioned in the shloka. Acharya Dalhana clarifies that and he says, Prakshalya kashayena saptaratram sadhyo vrana vihitena. So as it is given in the sadhyo vrana chikitsa in second chapter of Chikitsa Sthana explained by Shushruta, those kashayas explained for sadhyo vrana can be used here also for the treatment of vrana post surgery. And tadurdvam, after the 7th day, tad urdvam yathasva dosha harair aushada siddhena kashayena. Post 7 days, depending on the predominance of the dosha which is present in the vrana, you can decide the aushada dravyas which are hita to that condition. If you have vata predominant, vatahara dravyas can be selected, pitta predominant, pittahara dravyas, and kapha predominant, kaphahara dravyas can be selected, and kashayas can be prepared out of those, and prakshalana can be done to the vrana. This is after 7 days. So before 7 days, whatever that is explained for sadhyo vrana can be adopted. And protena udakam adaya. So after the kashaya prakshalana is being done, whatever the moist or water content that is left behind in the vrana. So if you leave it like that, again there will be dosha prakopa leading to paka of the vrana. So you have to do prochana with using a ruksha vastra. So that is given by protena udakam adhaya. So the remaining part of the udaka, that is the liquid which is present in the vrana, should have to be removed by using prochana karma. By it can be correlated to the mopping what we do. So by mopping you have to remove the excess moisture content or water content in the vrana. Next, after this, tilakalka madhusarpihi pragadam aushadayuktam nati snigdam nati ruksham vartim prani dadhyat. So once the prochana karma is done, you have to select drugs like tilakalka, madhu and sarpi, and you have to use them in pragada matra. In prachura matra you have to use that, and you have to make kalka out of these things and prepare a varti. A wick which is made up of these drugs should be prepared, and this has to be inserted into the vrana. And how this varti has to be made? It should be nati snigdha, nati ruksha. It should not be too dry. It should not be too moist. If it is too moist, again it will cause inflammatory reactions. It will cause excess moisture in the wound and it will lead to infections. And if it is too dry, nati ruksha, if it is too dry, what happens? It irritates the surrounding areas of the skin that is in the vrana, and it might cause inflammatory reaction. So it should be in between ruksha and snigdha. So it should not be too ruksha, it should not be too snigdha also. And once it is inserted into the wound cavity, then tataha kalkena achadhya. Using the same dravyas, you have to prepare a kalka, and you have to achadhya, you have to cover the wound area with these kalkas. That is the kalka made of tilakalka, madhu and sarpi, and other vranaropana dravyas can also be used. So these should be made into a kalka form and should be covered over the vrana pradesha. Ghanam kavalikam dattva. So once the kalka is applied over the vrana, ghanam kavalikam dattva. Ghana kavalika. So this kavalika can be taken as the gauze piece what we use in the present day. And the same explanation has been given by Acharya Sushruta also. He says kavalika is nothing but dviguna chaturguna mrudu karpata virachitam kavalikam ahu. That is two-folded or four-folded. Mrudu karpata virachita, that which is made of mrudu cotton made material folded in 2 or 4 times can be considered as kavalika. You can consider it as gauze piece which we use in the present day dressing. So that should be applied over the kalka pradesha, and then you should be vastrapattena badniyat. So then bandage should be done using vastrapatta, using cloth material. So after that, vedana rakshano dupair dupayet. So vedanahara dupana and rakshogna dupana should be used to cause raksha and vedanaharana in the patient. Rakshognair mantrair raksham kurvitaha. So after this, raksha mantras can be chanted and other Vedic hymns can be chanted to protect the vranita and vrana from evil spirits. So these are the procedures which have to be done after the surgical procedures are completed. Tataha shastram avacharya. So post surgical procedure, these has to be done, and hence these can be considered as paschat karma as per Ayurvedic classics. So further moving on, so dupana karma has been given for vedana harana and also for rakshagna karma. So for vedana harana, what other drugs can be used? Acharya Sushruta again in 18th shloka he says, Gugulu agaru, vachar shveta sarshapa, lavana nimba patra and ghruta. So these drugs can be used to make dupana dravya, and dupana can be given to the vrana, and that will act as a fumigation, killing the local germs which might be present, and also it has vedanahara properties. It also kills the pain of the patient. And coming to rakshogna, what are the dravyas can be used for rakshogna dupana? For that, Acharya Sushruta also explains, and Acharya Dalhan also gives that vachadi dravyas which have very mystical properties can be used for dupana karma. So vachadi dravyas for rakshogna karma and gugulvadi dravyas for vedanahara and ropana dupana can be used. And once the kalka have been applied and the dressing is also been done and dupana is been done, and when that vastra patta which is applied has to be changed, when the dressing has to be changed. So this is a question, And again Sushruta clarifies this by saying, Tatas tritiye ahani vimuchaivam eva badniyat vastrapattena na chainam turamane aparedyu mokshayet. So it has to be removed, and the vastrapatta or the bandaging should be done on the third day after the first procedure has been done. It should not be done earlier. It should not be done before the third day. And if it is done before the third day, what are the consequences? Again, Acharya Sushruta says, Dvitiya divase parimokshanat vigratito vranascha vranat upasamrohati tivra rujascha bhavati. That is, Dvitiya divase parimokshayet. If the bandaging is removed on the second day itself, vigratito vrana. The vrana gets vigratita, it gets distorted, and normal healing will not take place. And vranat chira upasamrohati. Vrana chira upasamrohati. That is, the vrana, the healing time gets longer. So the healing time becomes more if you remove the bandage very early. And tivra rujascha bhavati. There will be a severe pain for the patient. So if you critically analyze again the same shloka, if you think logically, it is very much similar to the present day complications of dressing and improper dressing. So how can it cause vrana vigratito? How can there will be distortion of the shape of the vrana, and how can it cause chirad vrana samrohati? How can it affect the healing of the vrana if the dressing is done on the second day? If you think logically, the granulation tissue starts growing from the second day onwards. From the first day, if you do the bandaging, the second day onwards, the granulation tissue starts sprouting and it starts filling up the wound cavity. If you do the bandaging again on the second day, whatever the little quantity of granulation tissue which is formed in the ulcer bed or the wound bed, it gets washed off. When you do prakshalana or when you do prochana of the vrana, it gets washed off, and again the healing will not be proper. And again the healing might not take place with in sufficient time which it should heal. So it has to be done on the third day, so that when the granulation tissue has grown up to a level, only the superficial layer which might have been infected gets washed off, and the underneath healthy granulation tissue stays within the cavity itself, and filling up of the cavity and healing of the vrana takes place and continues. So if you repeatedly do, again that's the main reason repeated dressing of the wound is also contraindicated as per present days bandaging techniques and wound healing techniques, because repeated dressing will cause damage to the sprouting or growing granulation tissues. So a particular and only when the wound is very infected or filled with maggots, or there are too much of slough and debridement should be done, only then repeated dressings can be done, repeated washings of the wound can be done. If the wound is very healthy and sterile, it is not having any slough, the dressing can be done once in 3 days. So only then the granulation tissue grows and it gives sufficient time for the wound to fill up. So this is the logic behind this shloka on how Sushruta has explained third day dressing should be done. Again, further moving on regarding the dressing, Acharya Sushruta, depending on the season, depending on the rutu wise, how dressing should be changed, he has given an explanation to that. He says, Hemante shishire chaiva vasante cha api mokshayet trahyadva cha grishma varshat swapi cha buddhiman. So in Hemanta, Shishira and Vasanta, once in 3 days the dressing can be changed, and in other Grishma, Varsha and Sharat it can be changed on the second day. So on what basis this has been told, it is not explained by Sushruta, whereas Dalhana, while commenting on the same shloka, that is 5th chapter 40th shloka of Sutrasthana, he explains the logic behind the saying of this shloka by Sushruta. He says, Dalhana says, Hemantadishu trahyan mokshayet teshu shitatvena shigrapaka bhaya abhavat. That is, in Hemantadi Shita Rutus, there is predominance of Shita Guna, and hence there is Shita Bhava, which decreases the Paka Bhaya, that is the formation of slough and other things is less compared to in the hotter climate in the Hemanta, Shishira and Vasantadi Rutus. Because of the Shita climate, there is less slough formation, less infection, and dressing can be done once in 3 days. Whereas in Sharadadishu Dvayad Mokshayet Tesham Ushnatvena, since there is predominance of Ushna Guna, Ushna Rutu, Ushna Pradesha Guna is more. Shigrapaka Bhayat. Because of the Shigrapaka Bhaya, it has to be done once in 2 days. So this is the logic explained by Acharya Dalhana, on which, depending on the seasons, when the dressing has to be changed. So further moving on, he also gives one more questions of his, ask one more query, and he tries to explain. Nanu hemantadayah sharadadayascha na samanta tastat katam teshu tulya kalam vranamokshanam. He says, in Hemantadi Ritus, which is explained earlier, Hemanta, Shishira and Vasanta, even though they are considered under one group, all the Ritus have different characteristics. They don't have single characteristics, because in Hemanta and Shishira, again, even if they are Shita Pradhana, the quantitative Shita and qualitative Shita quantities less in one and more in one Ritu. So how can it can be considered, uniformly considered as in all these three Ritus, it can be removed on the third day. And in the same way, in Sharadadi Ritus, Sharad, Grishma and Varsha, even though there is a slight humidity and increase in temperature, the increase in temperature is not uniform in all the three Ritus. And how can it be uniformly considered as second day dressing can be done in these Ritus? So this question is asked by Acharya Dalhana. Again, he clarifies the same question and he answers like, Uchyate Triha Deva Dvayam Niyamito na krutaha. So the second day and third day change of the dressings is not niyama. It is not niyamo na krutaha. It is not compulsory that you have to do in the second day and the third day itself. He further says, Tena hemantadinam sharatadinam cha utkarsha apakarshanat samiksha vranamokshanam kartavyam itya adoshaha. Tena hemantadinam sharadadinam. So in Hemanta Rutu and Sharad Rutus, cha Utkarshana Apakarshana Samiksha. Depending on and seeing Utkarshana and Apakarshana, you have to decide when the dressing has to be done and when it has to be changed. So what is the Utkarshana and Apakarshana that you have to see here? So depending on Utkarshana refers to increase, Apakarshana refers to decrease. So what Utkarshana Apakarshana you have to consider here? You can have two interpretations here. Depending on Utkarshana, depending on temperature, if there is increased temperature of any Rutu, the dressing can be changed once in 2 days, or if there is very severe temperature in one group, that is in one Rutu, the dressing can be changed twice in single Rutu also. And the same way Apakarshana, if there is less temperature, if there is less humidity and it leads to less Paka, you can change the dressing once in 3 days. Again, if this is one interpretation as per Utkarshana Apakarshana Samiksha. And what is one more interpretation is the amount of Srava or the Paka which is happening. If there is more Paka because of in the Vrana, because of various reasons, because of Doshotklisha, the dressing can be done once in a day or twice in a day, or twice in single day itself, depending on the Paka of the Vrana. And if there is Apakarshana, if there is less Paka, the wound is clean, if the Vrana is Shuddha and there is no Paka, then it can be done once in 3 days. So two interpretations depending on the Rutu can be done. One point is depending on the temperature, and second point depending on the Paka Lakshana, whether to do Bandhana Karma once in a day or twice in a day or thrice in a day can be decided based on Yukti of the Vaidya. So this is very clearly explained by Acharya Dalhana in his commentary. So this point you have to remember, there is no particular rule that it has to be done on the second and third day. Depending on Yukti, depending on the conditions like Rutu and Paka Lakshana, you can decide whether the dressing to be done on second day or third day. Further moving on, these are the general rules and regulations which has been explained by our acharyas in the classics. And if you consider any emergency conditions, if any sudden wound has taken place, in that condition you cannot wait for all the procedures like Purva, Pradhana and Paschat. So in those conditions, what you can do is explained by Acharya Sushruta. He says, Atipatishu Rogeshu. Atipatishu is nothing but Ashukarishu. That Vyadhi or Lakshana which is quick in action, which is causing a very severe form of Bhada to the person can be considered as ashukareshu, quick in action. Atipatishu rogeshu, those ashukari rogas, in those conditions, neched vidimimam vishak. In those conditions, you need not follow all the procedures, rules, and regulations as mentioned earlier from the point of doing Shastra Karma till the bandaging. You need not follow all those things. Pradipta Garavat Shigram Tatra Kuryat Pratikriyam. So, considering it as an emergency condition, and as the Lakshana of the Vyadhi is Ashukari Vyadhi, you have to do treatment in such a way that similar to something like once house Pradipta Garavat Shigram, once a house has got fire, the measures which you take to extinguish the fire in that, the quick measures what you take, in the same way, the pratikriya or the chikitsa for those diseases like Ashukari chikitsa has to be done in a quick manner. Very quickly it has to be done. So this is as per Acharya Shushruta. So till now we have seen the care of the wound, how should be done, what are the logic behind it, and what are the procedures for care of the wound. So, and what about the care of the wounded person, the Vranita or the wounded person, how that person has to be taken care of. For this, Acharya Shushruta has given very wonderful explanation, and he has dedicated an entire chapter for explanation of the care of the Vranita. So that is Shushruta Sutrasthana 19th chapter, Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya is entirely dedicated to the chikitsa of Vranita, and what are the do's and don'ts a Vranita has to follow has been explained by Acharya Shushruta in Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya. So considering, as the name itself says, Vranitopasaniya, Vranita is nothing but Sanjata Vranasya as per Dalhana. The one who is having a Vrana, Sanjata Vranasya, who is possessing the Vrana or who has got himself wounded and who is having Vrana can be considered as Vranita. Upasanam Sevanam. So, Upasana is nothing but Sevana. So Sevana does not mean only Ahara Sevana, it can also mean that what are the procedures or what are the activities a person has to take, or what he has to follow and what he has not to do. So that is given in this chapter, hence the name is Vranitopasaniya. The procedural or activities that Vranita has to do and not do is explained in Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya. So the foremost point which is explained here is, as soon as the Shastra Karma is done, the Vranita has to be shifted from Shastragara to Vranagara. So from the operative area to the post-operative area, he has to be shifted. So in the same way, Acharya Shushruta has given foremost importance to the building of Vranita Gara. The room or the area or the house where Vranita is kept is called as Vranita Gara. So how that should be there? That should be built. Vranitasya pratamam eva agaram anvichet. The foremost thing what one should do is build a Vranita Gara. Tacha agaram prashasta vastvadikam karyam. That agara which is built or the Vranita Gara which is built should have vastava, that is prashasta vastu and other features. So what are those features? Next he continues and says, prashasta vastuni gruhe shuchi atapavarjite nivate cha na rogaha syu sharira agantu manasaha. The how the Vranita Gara which is built for the Vrani should be built, it should be on prashasta vastuni. It should be having prashasta vastu. So the word vastu here does not mean the vastu which we present in the present day we consider. So the vastu here is explained by Acharya Dalhana as vastu shabdena deshaha katyate. The region or the pradesha where Vranita Gara is built can be considered as the vastu here. Tena prashasta deshe gruha ityartaha. In the prashasta desha and in the place where the gruha or Vranita Gara is constructed, in that place that can be considered as vastu, prashasta vastu. And what is the prashasta? The word prashasta indicate, he says prashastatvam. Prashastatva is nothing but deshasya prag nimnam. It has to be either facing Prague. Prague it's nothing but facing east direction. Deshasya prag nimnatvam udang nimnatvam. Udang is nothing but uttara disha. So either it should face the Purva or it should face Uttara Disha. Krishna Mrittikatvam, Suvarna Mrittikatvam cha. It should have should possess Krishna Mritika or Suvarna Mritika, depending on the color and the Lakshanas. So it should have Krishna Mritika or Suvarna Mritika. So the Vranitagara which is built in a desha having these features can be considered as Prashasta Vastu, having Prashasta Vastu. And next, Grihe Shuche, it should be properly, the hygiene should be properly maintained. And Atapa Varjite, there should not be too much of sunlight and too much exposure to the sunlight. And Nivate, there should not be too much and excess breeze should not be there. In these conditions, if Vranitagara is built having these characteristics, Nacha Rogaha Syu, Sharira Agantu Manasaha, Prashasta Vranitagara having these qualities, if built and the patient is kept in this Vranitagara, the patient will not suffer from Sharira, Agantu and Manasika Vyadhis. So this is the importance of Vranitagara and the way Vranitagara and the place where it has to be built. So this is as per Acharya Sushruta and Acharya Dalhana. Further moving on, once the Vranitagara is built, how the cot or the bed on which the Vranita has to lie down. So for that again explanation is given by Sushruta. He says, Tasmin Shayana Asambhada Swastirna Manogna Prakshiraskam Sashastram Kurvita. That is, the place or the cot which is built should be Asambhada, should not cause any discomfort to the patient. It should be very comfortable. Manogna, it should be very pleasant to the mind. Swastirna, it should be comfortably wide and length so that the patient can turn to one side and other side very comfortably. And it should not be very congested. And Prakshiraskam, it should be placed in such a way that the head of the patient is always towards the east. And Sashastram, so it should, the Vranitagara and the cot should be kept in such a way that the Shastra which is kept should be very near to him, or the Shastra for Himsra Nivaranartham, for protecting himself, the Vrani for protecting himself from wild animals and other dangers that he could face. To protect himself, Shastra should also be kept in Vranitagara. And once the cot is explained like this, again what is the bed, how the bed should be made for the Vranita to lie down. It is explained by Acharya Sushruta as Sukha Cheshta Pracharam Syat Swastirne Shayane Vrani. As previously explained, Sukha Cheshta Pracharam. While moving from one direction to another direction, it should be very comfortable. It should not feel congested, or it should not be very small so that it is very difficult for him to turn to one side and other side. And Syat Swastirne. And for patient to turn, it should be comfortably wide and long so that the whole body can lie on the bed very comfortably. Shayane Vrani, for him to sleep, the bed should be like this. Prachyam Dishe Sthitha Devasthat Pujartam Ta Tachiraha. So it should be kept facing towards the east, and he should keep his head towards the east, and all the Devata Puja Karya materials for his Puja Karya should be kept towards the east near his head, so that Puja Karyas can be done by the patient very comfortably. So this is the explanation as per for the type of cot or bed to be provided for Vranita. And once this is prepared and the patient is Vranita is shifted to the Vranitagara, he should be accompanied by a person who is having Sahradi, who is very compassionate and having affectionate towards the Vranita, the wounded person, and he should be Priyavat. He should speak very softly and gently, and he should have love and care towards the patient, and he should take care of the patient like a mitra, and he should also have samana manobhava yukta. So the mental compatibility should also be there between the person who is taking care and the Vranita. So only then the mental peace of the patient will be there and healing will takes place. And he should be able to give ashvasana to the patient, telling that the pain will be relieved soon and healing will take place soon, so that the mental stress of the patient is relieved, and also it helps also indirectly in tolerating pain by the Vranita. So this is the characteristics of a Sahradi Purusha who has to accompany the Vranita. This is the general instructions what Vranitagara and how the Vranitagara should be there, and what are the things to be present in Vranitagara. Further moving on, Vranita Vihara Vidhi. So if you look at Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya, usually in all the diseases, first the Ahara Vidhi being explained and then the Vihara Vidhi will be explained. But here Vranita Vihara Vidhi is explained first by Acharya Sushruta and later on Vranita Ahara Vidhi has been explained. So if you again analyze this, why Vranita Vihara is explained predominantly and then followed by Ahara Vidhi. So as soon as the patient is shifted to the Vranitagara, he is not given anything for intake. So internally the patient is not given in the same way as it is done in the present day. So there is in the post-operative period, as soon as the patient is shifted, he is not given any ahara to take internally. So hence Vihara is being explained before than Ahara Vidhi by Sushruta in Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya also. So we'll see what are the Vranita Vihara Vidhi first and then again we'll go to Vranita Ahara Vidhi. So in the Vranita Vihara Vidhi, Sushruta in 19th chapter again, 11th shloka he says, Uttana Samveshana Parivartana Chankramana Uchchair Bhashanat Swa Atma Cheshta Swa Pramatto Vranam Samrakshayet. So that is the Uttana Samveshana Parivartana Chankramana. Sitting, standing, lying and walking should be very minimal and it should be, if possible, it should be avoided. And Atma Cheshta Swa Pravartana Vranam Samrakshayet. So the activities what the Vrani will do in the Vranitagara, like turning from one side to other side or sitting for some time, should be very minimal and it should be very steady and slow. It should not be done in haste because it can lead to Vrana Prakopa and doshas in the Vrana get Prakopa and it can cause other complications. So it should, as far as possible, the Vrani should avoid all these things. If not possible, the action should be very minimal, slow and steady. Moving on, he says, Sthana Asana Chankramanam Diva Swapnam Tathaivacha Pranito Na Nishevate Shaktimanapi Manavaha. So the Sthana, Asana, Chankramana and Diva Swapna should be avoided at all case by the Vrani. So because even if the person is Shaktiman Api Manavam, even the person is very Shaktiman, very having so much of Bala, even for him it should be contraindicated because it can lead to Vrana Prakopa, Dosha Prakopa and can cause Vrana Upadravas. So even if the person is Shaktivan also, he should avoid all these things. And particularly Diva Swapna is very much contraindicated by Acharya Sushruta. He says, Diva Swapnat Vrano Kandu Gatranam Gauravam Tata Shvayatur Vedana Ragaha Stravaschaiva Brusham Bhavet. So if Diva Swapna is done by the patient, it can lead to these Upadravas, and he has not given which Upadrava will be caused by which dosha. Whereas Acharya Dalhana, while explaining the same shloka, while commenting on this, he explains very beautifully and says, Tatra Kandu Gaurave Kafakrute. So the Kandu and Gaurava, as explained by Sushruta, is caused by Kafakrita. Because of Diva Swapna, Kafa Prakopa will take place and it will cause Kafa and Gaurava. Shvayatur Vedana Vatakrate. So because of Vata, there is Shvayatu and Vedana. Ragaha Pitta Janitaha. So the Pitta, Prakupita Pitta will cause Raga. Sravo Rakta Kritaha. And Srava will be due to Rakta Prakopa. So Etena Diva Swapnat Akhila Dosha Kartutvam. So because of Diva Swapna, Akhila Dosha, that is all the doshas get Prakupita. So again, if you consider here, so Etena Diva Swapnat Akhila Dosha Kartrutva Muktam. So all the dosha, the word Akhila Dosha refers to all the doshas. So if you see the mentioning of Rasa, Rakta, Vata, Pitta, Kapha and Rakta here, and again the mentioning of Akhila Dosha, all the doshas, this reference by Acharya Dalhana can also be taken as an indirect reference for mentioning Rakta as one of the Chatur Dosha, one of the doshas. The fourth dosha is explained here as indirectly. So we can interpret this shloka as an indirect reference for considering Rakta as Chaturtha dosha. And moving on, other contraindicated viharas which has to be avoided by the Vrani is Gamyanam cha Srinam Sandarshana Sambhashana Samsparshanani Durat Eva Pariharet. So even Sri Sandarshana, even seeing, Sambhashana, talking and Samsparshana, physical contact should be strictly avoided by the Vranita to avoid complications of wound, to avoid Vrana Upadravas. So why this has to be done? So next he says, स्त्री दर्शनमादिभिः शुक्रं कदाचित् चलितं स्रवेत् ग्राम्य धर्म कृतान् दोषान् सो संसर्गो apyutan. That is, just by sandarsha, sambhasha and samsparsha, the dosha prakopa takes place in such a way that there is once the actual gramya dharma or the sexual intercourse takes place, in the same way, even just by sandarshana, sambhashana and samsparsha, there is shukraskalana causing the same amount of dosha prakopa like that of gramya dharma. So it is better to avoid Sri Sandarshana, Sambhashana, Samsparsha should be strictly avoided by the Vranita. And other viharas, like he should try to keep himself away from Shoka, Krodha, Girsha, Upavasa and Jagarana should be strictly avoided, because Manasika Bhavas will also cause Dosha Prakopa and it will cause Vrana Upadravas. These should be strictly avoided. And what are the things to be done? The patient should have manogna bhava, that is, he should keep himself from all unwanted thoughts, and he should physically also he should keep himself very hygienic, like roma, naka should be properly maintained, trimmed. All these hygienic instructions should be followed by the Vranita. This is as per Acharya Sushruta, the vihara vidhis which are being explained in Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya. So coming to Ahara Vidhi of the Vranita. So Ahara Vidhi is after the explanation of Vihara Vidhi, Ahara Vidhi is explained. He says, what are the things to be avoided by the Vranita? He says, Navadhanya Mashatila Kalaya Kulatta Nishpava Haritaka Shakamla Lavana Katuka Gudapishta Vikriti Vallura Shushka Shaka Anupamamsakai Vasa Shitodaka Krishara Payasa Dadi Dubda Takra Prabrutini Pariharet. So this is as per Sushruta 19th chapter, Sutrasthana 16th shloka. So Sushruta Sutra 19/16. So he mentions all the ahara dravyas which has to be contraindicated for a Vranita. Navadhanya, Masha Tila Kalaya Kulatta Nishpava Haritaka, Shaka Amla Lavana Katuka, Gudapishta Vikriti Vallura, Shushka Shaka Jivana Anupa Mamsodaka, Vasa Shitodaka, Krushara, Payasa, Dadi, Dugda and Takra. So these are the ahara dravyas which has to be avoided. So if you just look at all the dravyas which is mentioned here, and if you analyze, so all the ahara dravyas mentioned here are predominantly guru and having abhishandi guna, and which are hard to digest and which can provoke paka. So these are the materials which can hamper the agni and also cause dosha prakopa. Hence these have been told to be avoided by the Vranita. So what happens if these taken? Again, Acharya Sushruta explains in the next shloka. He says, Takranto navadhanyadir yo ayam vargam udahyate dosha sanjanano dosha vigneyaha puya vardanaha. So if these ahara dravyas are taken, it will cause dosha sanjanana, it will cause prakopa of all the doshas, and it will cause accumulation of all the doshas, causing puya vardhana. So in Sushruta 21st chapter, we can get the reference as all the doshas, once they get prakopa in the presence of rakta, only then puya is formed. So the same thing is being explained here. There is dosha sanjanana of all the doshas along with rakta, and again it leads to puya vardhana, formation of puya. Hence, to avoid puya, all these ahara dravya should be avoided. So these are the things to be avoided. So what are the things that a Vrani should take? So that is explained by Jirna Shalyodhanam, Snigdam, Alpam, Ushnam, Dravottanam. So that is Jirna Shalyodhanam. Shalyodhana can be taken, and which is very easy to digest. The Jirna Shalyodhanam can be taken as old one, or which can easily be digested. Both the interpretations can be done. And Snigdam, Alpam, Ushnam, Dravottanam. The ahara padarthas which are snigdha, alpa and ushna can be taken predominantly to prevent puyavardhana and dosha sanjanana. Along with that, bunchano jangala mamsarasahi shigram ranam uparohati. So jangala mamsarasa can also be taken by the vrani for shigra vranaropana. These are the things which has to be taken. And along with this, vilepi, kulmasha, ushna jala can also be consumed by the patient, and soup prepared by Jivanti, Dadima, Bala, Mulaka, and these things when after processing with Ghrutha, that is after doing Ghrutha Bharjana, these can be mixed with Saindav Lavana and can be taken in Alpamatra. So this is again for improving Vranaropana properties, and it will also help in giving enough bala for the patient. So these are the karmas, ahara vidhis, which is explained by Acharya Shushruta in Vranitopasaniya Adhyaya. So coming to these are all the things of Paschat Karma as explained by our classics in the Ayurvedic texts. So this is as per our Ayurvedic texts. So coming to the contemporary modern science or the allopathic science, what are the post-operative procedures that has to be done? So is the period of post-operative duration starts as soon as the procedure is completed, and it ends when the patient can normally get back to his daily activities. So this is the period of post-operative period. Starts when the procedure is completed and ends when the patient can restart his normal life. So this is the post-operative period. And what are the things to be done in this post-operative period? Acharya, the modern science says like soon after the procedure, once the procedure is done, the patient has to be carefully shifted from the operative bed, operative table to the trolley, and has to be shifted carefully because the patient might be semi-conscious or unconscious depending on the type of anesthesia used. Once the patient has shifted to trolley, he should be turned to one side to keep the oral secretions preventing from entering into the respiratory tract. He should be turned to one side and he should be taken to the post-operative ward. While taking this, as the patient is unconscious or semi-conscious, very careful measures should be taken not to induce any injury to the patient, as even after the injury the patient cannot tell that there is some injury and there might be chances of bleeding or any other complications. So careful transfer of patient from operative bed to the post-operative ward should be done. Post that, once depending on the type of anesthesia, whether it is general or local anesthesia or spinal anesthesia, since there is no need of respiratory, much problem will not be posed in case of spinal anesthesia. If the patient is having spinal anesthesia, the patient should be kept under observation and need not have any oxygen support. So because the patient will be conscious. Whereas in case of general anesthesia, if the patient is completely unconscious and if the patient is felt that there might be any respiratory problem, the careful positive pressure ventilation should be given till the patient regains consciousness and is able to regain his normal respiratory functions. And he has to be examined repeatedly for clear chest and breathing sounds. And if there is any problem in the airway because of secretions or blockage, elective tracheostomy if required can be done to clear the airway. And to clear the chest, if there is any possible chances of aspiration, the oral secretion should be repeatedly suctioned out using a suction to prevent any aspiration and chest complications. And if required, intermittent positive pressure ventilation in case of patients under GA can be given. So this is to resuscitate the patient from anesthesia. So once the patient has been resuscitated from anesthesia, so what are the measures to be given? It should be kept in propped up position, usually to facilitate breathing and also to avoid aspiration and chest complications. It should be placed in propped up position, and mainly pain relief should be taken care of. So once till the patient is under the effect of anesthesia, and as gradually the effect of anesthesia wears off, the patient starts feeling pain. To tackle this, the patient has to be given medicines for his pain relief. It can be morphine, pethidine, or present day diclofenac, aceclofenac, etc. Depending on the patient and the condition, the pain relief medications, analgesics can be given. And a few other important points which has to be taken care is micturition. It has to be very clearly noticed and monitored that how much is the intake, the IV fluids which is given by the nursing staff to the patient, and how much the fluid has been expelled out. So this monitoring should be very carefully done. So, and micturition, the the patient should be able to micturate within 4 or 5 years after the procedure. If not so, catheterization can be done. Present days, usually catheterization is done in the preoperative stage itself before sending the patient onto the operative bed, and continuous monitoring of the intake and output of the or urine output is monitored to assess kidney functions. And again, one more important point is bowels. The patient, if he has undergone any procedure involving the GI tract, strictly there should not be any laxatives or any bowel stimulants should not be given. And if the patient is involved in any other operative procedures other than the GI tract, for bowel, laxatives can be given on the third day if the patient is having difficulty in passing stools. If he regularly passes, there is no requirement of any laxatives to clear the bowels. And early mobilization, again, it's very important in the present day, because many researches have been done, because early mobilization of the patient post-operatively will reduce all the chances of chest complication, and main importantly, it will reduce the vein thrombosis incidences to more than 70%. So patients who are having late mobilization are having 70% more chances of developing the vein thrombosis, calf vein thrombosis, than who are early mobilized. So early mobilization is very important in the present time. And moving on, the care of the wound. So there's again one more important aspect in the operative site. If there is no soakage, if the area is sterile, and if there is no systemic changes in the body, if there are no chances of sepsis in the patient, and if the wound is very clean, and away from the places where there can be discharges and all, so the patient's dressing can be changed directly once on the day when posted for the removal of the sutures. If there are chances of discharges, and if you see any foul smell near the wound, and if there are any soakage of the dressing material, in those cases dressing can be changed depending on the wound and depending on the condition of the patient. Further moving on, these are all the post-operative methods for the post-operative patient with respect to his activities and mobilization, etc. So coming to the diet in the post-operative patient, again we should consider 3 points here. So one, whether the surgery is from what type of anesthesia has been used for the surgery, and in which area the surgery is done or the operation is being done, whether it is GI tract or other than the GI tract, and what type of the patient, depending on the symptoms of the patient and depending on the condition of the patient. For example, if the general anesthesia is given, he has to be given sufficient time for recovery, and then only the oral intake should be started. Again, in case of spinal anesthesia, and if the patient operation is on the GI tract, so there should be enough time given for the patient to pass flatus. Only then this diet can be started. Till then, once the peristaltic movements appear, only then it can be started. If not yet appeared, the patient should be kept on IV fluids and should be monitored. In surgeries where the GI tract is not involved, in any surgery other than the GI tract, the patient can be given food once slight flatus is passed, and again once if the surgery is done in the morning, in the night the diet can be started with regular diet with very gradual increase in the diet which can be given. And what is the diet and how it should be started will be seeing next. So if, for example, if the surgery is being done in the morning, and if the patient is shifted to the post-operative ward before afternoon, in the evening or in the night, the patient can be given 1 or 2 sips of clear liquid, and 1 or 2 sips of clear liquid, and it should be told to wait. And till the morning, if the patient is all right, and if he has tolerated, and if there are no episodes of vomiting, on the next day morning, the patient can be given, that is in the second day morning, the patient can be given 1 glass of clear liquid. So 1 glass of clear liquid, this is very important. It should not be any fruit juice or anything. A clear liquid, water or water with oral rehydration solution can be given 1 glass, and again should be waited till the afternoon. And if there are no vomiting, or if the patient has tolerated well, if there are no complications, then 1 glass of fruit juice can be given in the afternoon, and again waited till the night. So fruit juice, again, it should not be like in the form of a squash or in the having pulp materials. It should be very clear, or preferably coconut water can be given in the second day afternoon. Again waited till the second day night. The second day, if the patient is all right, even after taking clear fruit juice for 1 glass, the patient can be given one small bowl of semi-solid food in the night, if well tolerated, and it should be kept under observation. Again, if there is no complication, if the patient has tolerated very well the semi-solid food also, the third day morning the patient can be given very light and easily digestible semi-solid food, so that he can then after the third day completes, the whole day he should be given a regular diet having semi-solid consistency like khichdi, pongal, etc., and which is easily digestible. So the third day completely he has to be given with this diet, and if he tolerates well, from the fourth day he can restart his regular diet. So this is as per the modern methodology or the modern science, how diet should be restarted in the post-operative period. So this is as per the modern science. And also, if you see in Ayurvedic classics, there are few diseases for which very specific patya is explained. For example, in case of Jalodhara, post-operatively after Vedana Karma and removing the dosha from the udara, Acharya Shushruta gives very explanatory patya here, and he gives suggestion that the patya has to be followed for 1 full year, and also he gives specific materials to be followed in that 1 full year. For example, in the first 6 months he should be given only Kshira and Jangala Mamsarasa for the first 6 months, only Kshira and Jangala Mamsarasa, whereas in the next 3 months, that is from the 7th, 8th and up till 9th months, after the 6th months, 7, 8 and 9th months, the patient should compulsorily take Kshira and Jala in equal proportion, 1:1 ratio. They should be mixed and should be taken, or he can also be given Phalamla or Jangala Mamsarasa. So this is in the 7th, 8th and 9th month. This diet should be followed, and in the 10th, 11th and 12th, Lagu, Snigdha and Ruksha Ahara should be given in the last 3 months of the diet. This is as per Acharya Shushruta for Jalodhara specifically, and the diet which you give for the patient should be very hita. It should not be ahita, or it should not be viruddha ahara, and ita ahara should be given in the last 3 months. So this again should be followed for 1 complete year. Only then the patient of Jalodhara, even after removing the doshas from the udara, he can leave. So this is as per Acharya Shushruta. So in the class today we have seen what are the aspects of Paschat Karma as per different Acharyas, and what are the Ahara Vidhi, what are the Vihara Vidhi, and as per modern science also we have seen what are the procedures, how the maintenance of post-operative patient should be done, and what are the dietary restrictions and how dietary regimen should be followed. Everything we have seen as per Ayurveda and modern terminologies also. Hope you have understood all the 3 karmas, the Trivida karmas, and today's session also on Paschat Karma. If there are any doubts, again you can comment down below. I can answer them. And this completes the concept of Trivida Karma, which we have dealt in the past 3 classes, Purva, Pradhana and Paschat Karma. And in the next class we will be dealing a very important topic, and very frequently asked, and most of you have asked me to deal with this concept, that is regarding whether to consider Rakta as a dosha or dhatu. Most controversial question I can say, and most interesting topic to be discussed. So this will be dealing in the next class. Hopefully, again, if you have any doubts, please do comment. I'll be answering those in the comments. And again, we'll meet on the next class, that is on Tuesday. Till then, take care. Thank you.